Hey guys, this is the A-Meister here again. Here again with something a little bit different, and by different I mean some of the same. Today I have an EDH deck that I'm going to be reviewing. This is my Vorel of the Hull Clade deck. If you don't know what Vorel of the Hull Clade does, just one second. He is a 1/4 for 3 mana. 1 green, 1 blue, tap. For each counter on target artifact, creature, or land, put another one of those counters. So he doubles counters, which, can be very, very powerful. It's very, very potent, and this deck likes to take advantage of that ability a lot. So I'm going to start off with the creatures. The deck is very heavy on the creatures. I think it's about a third of it is creatures. So, good solid amount. Lead it off. Good old Frosty. He is the blue giant of, should take a chunk of this. Whoops. So yeah, that's Frost Titan. Champion of the Lambholt. One of those creatures that goes well with Vorel. So you basically double the counters up on Champion to the point where they can't block, and then you swing for lethal. Somber World Sage is pure ramp. Gyre's Sage is probably one of the most powerful mana makers in the deck because you start doubling counters on it, and you make like 16 mana per turn. It's nuts. Simic Sky Swallower is pure utility. Or not utility, it's a pure beat stick. Flying Trample Shroud 6/6 for 7, not horrible. Prime Speaker Zagana. If you really wanted to, you can draw a retarded amount of cards with this deck. With her ability, when she enters the battlefield, you get X counters on her, where X is the greatest power among other creatures I control. With that ability on the stack, you can once she lands, you can double the counters. Drawing, so if she comes in with 12 counters, you draw 24, like 25 cards. It's ridiculous. Phyrexian Metamorph, it's pure utility clone. With the new legend rule in play, it doesn't exactly blow up creatures like it used to, but it's still a good enough card to deserve a slot. So let's say I really need, somebody's Sword of Feast and Famine, or I really want somebody's Powerhouse General, I can clone it. Sphinx of Athun is by far one of my most favorite flyer, 7-drops in blue. Like, it's just one of my most favorite 7-drops. Like, it's up there. I recommend that most blue decks run it. That if they could swing it, then run it. It's a Factor Fict. It's basically a flyer 5/6 Factor Fiction once it enters the battlefield, which I can do crazy things with. Next creature is Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. He is one of the 2 EDH legendary Eldrazi creatures. He's a 10-drop for a 12/12 Annihilator 4. I'm sure you know what he does. It just does nuts. It does just crazy things. Scavenging Ooze. Pure, my playgroup itself uses a lot of graveyard recursion, so this is a good way of slowing down. I'm sure not everybody's going to want to run this in their commander decks. You're still probably going to want to because it's a really good card, but if your playgroup doesn't use a lot of graveyard stuff, then this would seem a little bit more useless, but my playgroup does use a lot of graveyard stuff, so it has its uses. Next we have the Green Praetor, Vorinclex Voice of Hunger. Just a good old-fashioned solid utility creature for 8 mana, not horrible. Next we have Mossbridge Troll. It's probably my favorite just pure green beat stick creatures, because it's very easy in this deck to get a power 10 or greater that isn't Mossbridge Troll. So giving him +20/+20, swinging it for 25. If you have 2 creatures down, that have 10 or more power, or like a lot of smaller creatures that just equal 10 or more power twice, you can get him to a 45-45 and then swing and take somebody out. So he's a very good creature. Riptide Shapeshifter, completely, like, there's 2 or 3 creatures in this deck that you would want to pay for. You would want this early. You can name Eldrazi to get, Kozilek or Ulamog on the cheap. You can name Praetor to get Vorel on the cheap. So the fact that this deck uses a lot of unique creature types, or it doesn't have a lot of overlapping creature types, means if you know the deck well enough, you can pick exactly what you need for whatever situation you want. Next we have a pure utility Brutalizer Exarch. This guy is basically creature fetch. He's a worldly tutor on a 3/3 body, but having the ability to tuck a non-creature permanent on the bottom of the library is also very powerful. I usually prefer to get Deadeye Navigator with his tutor ability and then drop him to be able to tutor one thing per turn and then tuck away everybody's problem, like everything that's a problem to me. But most of the time I'll end up tutoring out like just, something like Vorel to get mana going. Either way, he's a good creature. Master Biomancer, it's Cynic's, another one of my favorites. The fact that he does ridiculous things with Vorel. It's just nuts what Master Biomancer can do for you if you're in the colors. Scoop Mob turns into a massive creature really, really fast with Vorel's ability. Within the first couple turns you can get him into a 9-9, a 10-10, then you just keep going, right? Then we have Ulamog with Infinite Gyre, probably, my favorite of the two. Incredibly hard to get rid of. Most of the time it's a game ender if I can land him. So, yeah, just neat. Then we have a little bit of ramp, Birds of Paradise. You all know what Birds of Paradise does. Second chunk of it, Inkwell Leviathan. Another really powerful creature, 9 mana. Island Walk, Trample Shroud. So, solid creature for a 7/11. Acid Slime. Acid Slime. One of my, it's a really good utility creature. Enters the battlefield for 5 mana. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. So it's a good all around, and it's also a 2/2 death touch. So you're removing 2 birds with 1 stone if you block a problem creature. Sphinx Ambassador. 5/5 for 7 flying. When he deals damage to a player, or combat damage to a player, I search that player's library for a card. I get that. That player names the card. If I search for a creature and he didn't get the card, I put it on the battlefield under my control, as long as it's a creature. Like if I picked out a creature. So this is obviously nuts in a singleton format, because if you play it smart, you can pick not the best creature, but almost the best, and then just hope he doesn't guess it, and then you still get a free creature. So, very powerful creature. Lotus Cobra, just, utility ramped. Spellskite, every blue deck's dream card of eating a kill spell, so something bigger doesn't. Phyrexian Swarmlord, one of the only sources of infect in the deck. The only source, it actually is the only source of infect in the deck. It's mostly just because if I infect somebody, I get to start making infect creature tokens, which usually isn't a problem. But because the infect deals damage in -1/-1 counters, if I happen to hit, an indestructible creature with an infect creature, or just big problems, I can, then use Vorel to, make that creature get more -1/-1 counters, which is powerful. Deadeye Navigator, just overall utility to... overall utility just to keep bouncing your utility ETB effects like Acidic Slime or Brutalizer Exarch. Fathom Mage, just to draw on a large amount of cards with the Vorel. Primordial Hydra, your best, obviously he's a good card. In Commander, you drop him in on the cheap 3 or 4 mana into X, and then you double it, and then you double it with Vorel, and you can easily turn into like a 40/40 with Trample in like 2-3 turns, and then you just knock out people. Eternal Witness, every green deck's friend. Regenerative Mimic, probably my favorite clone ever made. It spits out tokens which can make infinite combos with Eternal Witness and Time Warp or anything really. Tygon Predator, pure utility, artifact, and enchantment removal. One of my favorite utility creatures in general. Kira's in here, just basically she gives you good old-fashioned defensive stuff, counter magic for your creatures so they don't die as easily. Only problem with her is, of course, Vorel's ability would also get countered, so I usually try to drop her once I have a board state and then win with it. Wolfear Silverheart, soul bonds to give +4/+4, so no big deal on that one. And Terracodon to round off the creatures. Good old-fashioned 9/9 for 8 that smashes 3 things and then turns those things into elephants, which, not horrible. And we go on to the non-creatures. Leading off is everybody's favorite piece of awesomeness, Umezawa's Jitte. Umezawa's Jitte lets you, it's the only piece of equipment in this deck, but I figured it's the best because you can double the charge counters on it with Vorel if you really need to, and then just, siphon off of Jitte's abilities without even equipping it. Liquid Metal Coating. It's in here mostly to turn Planeswalkers into artifacts and then double the counters on them. So, when Tezzeret was in here, this used to be the dirty combat trick in which I'd use Tezzeret to tutor this, and then, double the counters on Tezzeret, and then just it would turn gross. It turns gross really quickly, and you can do really fun things with Phyrexian Metamorph in this card. Quicksilver Amulet. It's a good way of, once it's down, to flash in big dudes on the cheap, and they're also uncounterable, so, obviously powerful creatures are powerful. Tamia the Moonsage, clearly, powerhouse Planeswalker. It just does work. It slows people down, draws 2 cards, and it can win you the game with her emblem. Rapid Hybridization, in my opinion, a little bit better than it's just, because of the lack of creature removal in green and blue, I gotta take what I can get, so that's always nice. Primal Hunter, he's a tank. His ultimate wins you games. He makes 3/3 beasts, and he draws you a ton of cards, which is not that bad. Revenge of the Haunted, it gets very fun to use this card with stuff like Mystical Tutor to give you a board wipe when you need it. It's just a good card overall. Kodama's Reach to ramp lands, Harmonize to draw cards, Praetor's Council to reset your graveyard and then give it infinite hand size. It's a really good way of just solidifying an infinite turn combo or something. Worldly Tutor for creature tutoring. Jace Architect of Thought, mostly just more drawing and filtering. Primal Command, mostly this deck likes to have things in the yard and then has a lot of ways of resetting your graveyard. This is one of them. This is probably my favorite command, actually, because all 4 of the abilities are amazing by themselves. For 5 mana, you can gain 7 life, or tuck a non-creature permanent on top of his library to slow him down, or shuffle somebody's graveyard, including your own, into the library, or, tutor a creature, which isn't bad. Control Magic, I just run this because, sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it comes in and helps, a lot. Cyclonic Rift, kind of my board wipe, but not for me. It's just it's a really potent, thing of getting rid of hexproof creatures now that the new Legend Rule is a little bit harder to do. Dark Steel Reactor. Overall, secondary win condition with the Vorel if you can get his charge counters up to the max. And then Preordain. So yeah, that's that. Then there's my lands. Oh, wait a minute. No, actually, I'm not done. What am I doing? Wow. Figured it was a little bit late. Continuing with the brainstorm and stuff. Got Brainstorm for drawing and stuff. My only mass board wipe, which is Always Dust. Just sacrifice all colored permanents. It sometimes doesn't hurt because I can deal with it. Green Sun Zenith, powerhouse. The most powerful Sun Zenith, and tutor creatures. Why not? Cultivate, more land ramp. Rain of Thorns, good old fashioned sorcery that blows up a lot of stuff. Ring of Three Wishes, really cool artifact that lets me tutor out constantly. Sleep, good way of slowing people down. Rancor, Jace Bellerin, cheap draw that keeps doing it. Tooth and Nail, because Tooth and Nail is Tooth and Nail. Mystical Tutor, Ponder, and Time Warp, which goes together with a lot of combos in this deck. And now for the lands. Yeah, okay, here we go. I'm going to start with non-basics, and then just go into my basics. So, Hickory Woodlot. One thing before I get into this, I don't really have dual lands, because, my resources are a little bit stretched thin because of all the commander decks that are just happening right now. So I don't have the 2 dual lands I should. A lot of dual lands I don't have that I should, so just letting you know that. So I kind of just have to work with what I got. So Hickory Woodlot, Scorch Ruin, amazing land. Probably it's so good. It taps for 4, which can ramp you so hard into creatures. Shimmering Grotto. See the sign out I just run in here. This deck used to have Tezzeret in it, but now that it doesn't have Tezzeret, I don't know why I still have Seed. It's just kind of there. Vivid Grove, it's a vivid land. Simic Guildgate, because why not. Vivid Creek, because why not. Lonely Sandbar, because cycle lands aren't horrible. Alchemist Refuge, giving me the ability to flash in creatures and things. And Reliquary Tower to give, because when I'm drawing all those cards, I don't really want to be discarding them. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 island, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 island, the forest. Bringing it to, I think it's 36 or 37 land. Okay. So guys, that was my Vorel of the Hull Clade EDH deck. It takes a very long time to get going, so fast aggro decks are going to kind of hurt the deck a lot. But if you're in the multiplayer format and you're able to set up quick enough with a solid opening hand, I don't find trouble in smashing people really, really hard. I'm probably going to have gameplay of this deck working against my buddy's EDH deck. Probably within the next 3 days, so if you're watching this video, subscribe to my channel, watch out for that. I'm also going to have Teneb the Harvester and Skitherax the Blight Dragon coming up in one of these sort of things for, deck lists. And if you're wondering about why things like Lightning Greaves and Soul Ring and Mana Vault aren't in my EDH, it's because of mostly I only have one copy of each, sadly. And they're all kind of in my original EDH deck, which is Gazella. I'm gonna probably do a attack of that one too. Honestly, the only deck that kind of gets hurt by it is Skithrax the White Dragon, so that's not even a problem. This Vorel the Hull Clade works perfectly. It's perfectly kosher without actually having, Soul Ring and Lightning Greaves and all that. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but it's not like it's going to hinder the deck not having it. So yeah, that's going to be that. I'm going to probably when this is uploaded, this is probably gonna be paired with my standard mono green deck list. If you haven't checked that out already, I suggest you do. It's a cool list to run if you're interested in standard all of a sudden. But if you're interested in the one-on-one EDH thing, where it's just me and my buddy playing not so powerful, still fun to play EDH decks, then subscribe to the channel, and we'll try to pop out some more content. Okay, so like always, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.